Welcome to Mindblow, the ultimate destination for jaw-dropping content that will surprise, inspire, and entertain you every step of the way. If you love discovering the unexpected, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends to keep the excitement going. Your support helps us keep blowing minds and creating content you'll never forget. So buckle up and get ready, because this is just the beginning.
On the morning of October 10, 2025, the Caribbean's legendary calm was shattered in a way no one could have predicted. The sun had barely crested the horizon, painting the sky in gold and crimson, when an event unfolded that would ripple across the region and the world. A thunderous, unfamiliar roar echoed across the water, a sound that sent shivers down the spines of everyone who heard it. It was a noise that didn't belong, a deep mechanical growl that seemed to vibrate through the very air. Local fishermen, off the coast of Venezuela, seasoned by years at sea, instinctively looked up from their nets and lines. Their faces, usually calm and focused, were now etched with confusion and concern as they searched the sky for the source of the disturbance. What they saw was astonishing: a fleet of A-10 Thunderbolt IIs, known as Warthogs, slicing through the sky in a tight, disciplined formation. The aircraft flew low, their engines rumbling like distant thunder, casting long shadows over the turquoise waters. These were not ordinary planes. The A-10s are legendary for their rugged design and devastating firepower, built for ground attack and close air support in the world's fiercest battlefields. Their presence here, far from any declared conflict, was both surreal and deeply unsettling. The sight was jarring. A-10s, icons of land battles in Iraq and Afghanistan, now roaring over the tranquil Caribbean. The contrast between the peaceful seascape and the menacing warplanes was impossible to ignore. Their flight path was no accident. The Warthogs hugged the coastline, flying close enough to Venezuelan landmarks to be unmistakable. It was a calculated move, a show of force that left no room for misinterpretation. The US military was making its presence, and its intentions, impossible to ignore, right on Venezuela's doorstep. Within minutes, the news exploded across the region. Beachgoers and fishermen recorded the spectacle on their phones, uploading videos that went viral in seconds. Radio stations interrupted their broadcasts, and news anchors scrambled to report on the unprecedented military sighting. Speculation ran wild. Was this a warning to the Venezuelan government, a military drill, or the opening move in a much larger confrontation? The uncertainty only heightened the tension, as everyone wondered what would happen next. The Pentagon, when pressed for answers, offered only silence. Their refusal to comment fueled anxiety and rumors, leaving the world to guess at the true purpose behind the show of force. In Caracas, the message was received loud and clear. The appearance of the Warthogs was a direct challenge, bypassing diplomatic channels in favor of raw, unmistakable military signaling. The Venezuelan government was left to interpret the move and decide how to respond. The A-10 skirted the very edge of Venezuelan airspace, flying close enough to threaten but careful to remain within the bounds of international law. It was a delicate dance. Provocative, but not overtly aggressive. Inside government offices and military command centers, Venezuelan officials faced a dilemma. Should they protest and risk appearing weak, or escalate and risk plunging the region into chaos? Every option carried enormous risks. The Caribbean sky, once a symbol of peace and beauty, had become the stage for a high-stakes geopolitical drama. Storm clouds, both literal and metaphorical, gathered on the horizon, signaling that the situation could change at any moment. The world was watching, holding its breath as events unfolded. With every passing hour, the stakes grew higher, and the outcome more uncertain. The unexpected sighting had set the stage for a confrontation that could reshape the region, and perhaps the world. To grasp the gravity of the A-10's appearance, you need to know what it is. The A-10 Thunderbolt II is a flying tank, built for one purpose: destroying ground targets. It's slow, heavily armored, and can survive brutal damage. Pilots sit in a titanium bathtub for protection. Its signature weapon, the GAU-8 Avenger cannon, fires 30mm shells at a terrifying rate, earning the nickname BRR-T. The A-10 can carry up to 16,000 pounds of bombs and missiles, making it a versatile and deadly platform. Its combat record is legendary: hundreds of tanks and vehicles destroyed in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Warthog is not a tool of diplomacy, it's a tool of war. Its presence in the Caribbean was a message no one could ignore. The A-10's flight was a calculated move, a strategic maneuver designed to send a clear message to the world. In the tense chess game of Caribbean geopolitics, every move is scrutinized, every action analyzed for its deeper implications. US-Venezuela relations have long been hostile, but this was a new level: military signaling. not just words or sanctions. It was a demonstration of power, a reminder of the military might that the US could bring to bear. Neighboring countries like Colombia saw reassurance, but also risk. Brazil and others worried about US power in their backyard. The presence of the A-10s was a double-edged sword, offering both protection and provocation. The Caribbean, once peaceful, was now a theater for great power rivalry. The skies and seas once calm were now filled with the echoes of military engines and the tension of potential conflict. The warthogs also sent a message to Russia and China, Venezuela's key backers. US military dominance in the region is real and present. It was a bold statement, a declaration that the US would not be sidelined in this geopolitical contest. The choice of the A-10, a tank killer, was pointed. Any foreign-supplied armor could be obliterated. It was a clear warning to those who might consider challenging US interests in the region. This single maneuver forced every nation to rethink its security and alliances. The ripple effects were felt far and wide as countries recalibrated their strategies in response to this show of force. The US had shown it was willing to act, not just talk. This was a demonstration of resolve, a signal that the US was prepared to back its words with action. The question now, what would it take for this show of force to become real conflict? The region held its breath, waiting to see if the tension would escalate or if diplomacy would prevail. The warthog's shadow now loomed over every decision in the region. Its presence was a constant reminder of the stakes involved, a symbol of the precarious balance of power. The balance of power had shifted overnight. The region was on edge, caught between the forces of change and the desire for stability. The future was uncertain, and the world watched closely, waiting to see what would happen next. In Caracas, the A-10's flyby triggered public outrage and private fear. The government used the incident to stoke anti-US sentiment, but behind closed doors, the reality was grim. Venezuela's military, plagued by corruption and outdated gear, was no match for the warthog. The A-10 is designed to destroy the very tanks and artillery Venezuela relies on. The psychological impact was immense. Soldiers and commanders alike knew they were outmatched. The mission was a warning. Resistance would be futile and costly. Venezuela could bluster or appeal to allies, but the power imbalance was clear. The US had delivered a message, loud, unmistakable, and impossible to ignore. Analysts across the defense community quickly recognized the Pentagon's choice of the A-10 Thunderbolt II as a masterstroke in military signaling. The decision was not just about deploying an aircraft, it was a calculated move that sent ripples through both military and diplomatic circles. Experts noted how the selection of the A-10, a platform renowned for its ruggedness and firepower, was a deliberate message to adversaries and allies alike. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a leading defense strategist, put it bluntly, "Sending the warthog is like putting a sledgehammer on the table. It's a show of overwhelming force, a clear statement that the US is prepared to escalate if necessary. It's about brute force and unmistakable intent," she continued. The deployment wasn't about achieving air superiority in the traditional sense. It was about threatening total ground annihilation, making any hostile action seem futile. Retired General David Maxwell described the move as a calculated probe, testing Venezuela's radar capabilities, response time, and even their political resolve. "It's a chess move, not a checkmate," he explained, emphasizing the intelligence-gathering aspect. The mission was dual-purpose, gathering critical intelligence on enemy defenses while simultaneously sending a clear, unmistakable warning to anyone watching the region. The timing of the deployment was no accident. It was strategically chosen to refocus global attention on the Western Hemisphere, reminding the world that the US remains vigilant and capable of rapid response in its own backyard. The underlying message was clear: America can act decisively at home, even while managing crises and commitments abroad. This show of force was as much about reassurance as it was about deterrence. The A-10's storied combat legacy added significant psychological weight to the operation. Its reputation precedes it. Everyone in the region knows exactly what the Warthog is capable of, both in terms of firepower and survivability. By flying the Warthog so visibly, the US painted a vivid, unmistakable picture of what a real conflict could look like, leaving little to the imagination of potential adversaries. The result? Maximum deterrence with minimum direct action, a powerful, unmistakable signal to both friends and foes that the US is ready, willing, and able to defend its interests at a moment's notice. The A-10 inspires fear not just for its firepower, but for its resilience. Stories abound of warthogs returning home riddled with holes, still flying. Its rugged design lets it stay in the fight when others would retreat. The A-10 can loiter over battlefields, circling like a predator, creating relentless psychological pressure. Its GAU-8 Avenger cannon is infamous. The sound alone can break enemy morale. For Venezuela's conventional forces, the A-10 is an existential threat. In this mission, the US didn't need to fire a shot. The reputation alone did the work. The Warthog's presence forced adversaries to imagine their defeat before a single bomb was dropped. It's psychological warfare at its most effective. The A-10's Caribbean mission signals a shift in U.S. military strategy. After years focused elsewhere, the U.S. is reasserting its power close to home. This is a new era of visible muscular diplomacy, military posturing as a tool of foreign policy. The choice of the A-10 shows readiness to deter nation-states, not just insurgents. Other countries may now race to upgrade their own arsenals. Globally, rivals like China and Russia are watching, taking note of America's resolve and rapid response. The mission is a template for future shows of force, highly visible, psychologically potent, and just short of conflict. The Warthog's flight was more than a warning. It was a statement of intent. In the Americas and beyond, the echo of their engines will shape strategy for years to come.